Hello everyone, welcome back to Assetto Corsa, where this week I've decided to give Low Fuel Motorsport's Clio Cup a try for the first time. The combo at Donington Park sounded fantastic, but it has not gone well. Yep, I crashed. I managed to get back going, and then I crashed again. After that, I thought I'd crash some more. Yeah, still I crashed, and then I just kept on crashing. To be fair, I don't think I did too much wrong in any of these incidents, but the levels of aggression in this series are insane. The one on screen now particularly annoyed me. Many of you encouraged me to defend more, so I chose the defensive line for T1 as soon as I exited this final chicane a little slower than I would have liked. Yet that still didn't stop the driver behind from trying to move up the inside, even though I'd closed off the line early. He's flashing his headlights furiously, trying to bully me over to the left, and when I don't budge, he ends up forcing me off. If this is what happens when you try to defend more, I'm not sure it's worth it. The racing here was incredibly rough. Check out this clip from the start of my first race. There are cars going everywhere. It's absolute carnage out there. In fact, I think there are just as many cars using the grass as there are on track. After all this, I vowed to give the Clio Cup a wide berth. Until today, that is. In a moment of weakness, I've decided to return to Donington Park and give it one more try. Have people calmed down a bit as the week's gone on? Let's find out. I'll be starting this one from P7, and normally I'd say I'm in with a chance of competing for a top 5, as I'm less than 2/10 off Jesse Pipo in 5th. But with Monday's carnage still fresh in my mind, honestly, I'd be pleased with a top 10 and survival here. It is a top split, but then so were the others. Top splits seem to me just as dangerous. Here we go. Red lights are out and we are underway. A terrible start for Alonso Martinez from P6 to my left, so that's one position gained straight away. However, I think I'm going to lose it almost as quickly as I gained it, because Kevin Kaufman made an absolute flyer of a start. Kaufman was P8 on the grid right behind Martinez, so he did really well to swing out into the middle to get around the stranded Martinez, then get back to the outside while still carrying the speed to move into 6th position ahead of me. Meanwhile, I've managed to maintain my starting position of 7th, so at this stage of the first lap I am more than happy with that. Out of the old hairpin for the first time then. I've actually got a bit of breathing room behind me already. It's 0.8 of a second back to Matthew Vinalen in 8th. Meanwhile in front, Kaufman is having a look up the inside of Jesse Pipo. Pipo will have the advantage into McLaren's, but he's just surrendered that advantage because he was pushed out a little bit wide there. He may have clipped the grass to the right. That unsettled his car and has given Kaufman 5th position. And I saw Pipo getting a little bit ragged in front of me there, so I did just lift in a moment of panic, and that has allowed Vinalen behind to close right in. He's now just 0.4 of a second back. And it looks like I've got the run on Pipo here, so I'm going to move to the inside. However, Pipo weaves across to close the line off. I swerve back to the outside, but it's just thrown me offline and I've made a complete mess on the brakes. I take a whack as well from Martinez by the looks of it, who also ran into the gravel. What a disaster. We've lost a load of positions here, rejoining down in P12 at the end of this first lap. It might even be P13. Look in the rearview mirror. It's yet another headlight flasher, Pierre Duncan, who's carrying more than enough speed to get the job done before we even make it into T1. So that's me down into 13th position now. Another disastrous opening lap in Assetto Corsa. Let's go back and check out the replay. And I got a much faster exit out of the corner than Jesse Pipo in front of me. I moved to the inside, but then Pipo swerves across to close the line off. A little bit late possibly. I move to the other side, but that unsettles me. I lose control, braking just over the brow of that hill and run off into the gravel. Martinez joins me. He got run off too, and it looked like one of the back markers just out braking himself, which caused chaos in that final chicane. So this one's shaping up to be every bit as rough as the races on Monday. I'm down to P13, we're halfway through lap 2, and I'm now all over the rear end of Pierre Duncan. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling a little bit wound up after Duncan kept flashing his headlights at me into turn 1 at the start of this lap. He was carrying way more speed. He didn't need to do it, but he thought he'd try and distract me anyway. Well, if he wanted to get me angry, it has worked. But I've got bigger problems in my rearview mirror at the moment. That's Maxim Zantimirov. So it's my turn to go defensive here. Zantimirov goes out wide. When there's a collision a bit further ahead, it looked like Alonso Martinez ploughed into the back of Low and Ferron. Meanwhile, I almost managed to nip up the inside of Pierre-Eric Duncan. Well, I wasn't really plotting an overtake there. I was more worried about defending against Zantimirov. But let's check out the replay of the collision a bit further ahead. And yeah, Martinez in that pink Clio just got a bit too close to Ferron there. He got caught out on the brakes and the pair of them crash out. Meanwhile, look at Duncan. He got a bit out of shape as well. That gave me an opportunity I wasn't really prepared for. Right, start of lap 3 then. I'm up into P11, and I did say before the start of the race that I would be happy with a top 10 finish. That is still very much within reach. Actually, it might get a bit closer now because Duncan has made a right mess of his exit from the first corner. Now, I am still simmering from that headlight flashing at the start of lap 2, so I am going to push as hard as I possibly can to try and engineer a way past Pierre-Eric Duncan here. There certainly won't be any headlight flashing from me, but I won't be afraid to get a bit more aggressive than normal here if it means forcing a way past Duncan. I've got the run on him through this section, so I'm going to switch to the outside. If I can carry the momentum around the outside here, I'm going to have the inside for McLean, so I might get the advantage. I've certainly got to the apex first, but Duncan isn't giving it up, and I take a big whack from behind as well. Zantimirov getting involved. This is now a three-way battle for 10th position. Duncan just gets into Coppice ahead of me. I'm forced to surrender that inside line and tuck back in behind the 10th place driver. And this is getting really intense now. There is less than 1 second between the three of us. Zantimirov having a look up the inside. Oh, Duncan really early on the brakes. I'm forced into yet another move up the inside that I wasn't quite prepared for, and I've got into a right mess through the chicane. I've not only lost ground on Duncan, but I've surrendered the position to Zantimirov. But yeah, incredible battling on this third lap. Let's check out the replay. And it looked like Duncan got a bit unsettled on that inside curb. That's what gave me the opportunity to try and throw it around the outside. I was hoping to get the advantage into McLean's. At this point, I did have the advantage, but Duncan not willing to let it go. The additional nudge from Zantimirov behind unsettled me a little bit too, so I had no choice but to tuck back in behind Duncan here. Little did I know I was going to get another opportunity to overtake at the end of the straight. I was not expecting that. As a result, I was completely offline. I needed to shift down into second to get some momentum back again. It's cost me a position. I'm down to P12, but this is certainly not over. I am still within a second of the top 10, and we're only at 1/4 race distance. While that blunder through the final chicane has cost me a bit of ground, I'm hoping that Zantimirov can do me a favour here because he is getting really rough with Pierre-Eric Duncan. Duncan almost forced off onto the grass at the bottom of the Craner curbs. That is going to give me a golden opportunity to pounce. I swoop around the outside and I've got enough speed and momentum to get the job done. I'm up into P11. I can get back onto the racing line before we arrive at McLean. So I do get a bit of a slide on mid-corner. That might give Duncan an opportunity to strike right back. I hope not. He's going to have a look up the inside into Coppice Corner. This is going to be really tight. I'm going to slam the door shut as aggressively as I possibly can, and I've held on to P11. But yeah, Zantimirov was really forceful here as he made his way past Duncan. He rolls it around the outside at the top of the Craner curves. Now they're side by side, and this is a really scary place to try and overtake. Zantimirov drifts out wide. He almost pushes Duncan onto the grass. Duncan actually does really well to save it, but it costs him loads of speed, and that's what gives me the opportunity to swoop around the outside. I'm up to 11th, Duncan down to 12th. We're going to jump forward to the halfway point of the race, and unfortunately I've been unable to keep up with Zantimirov. Now, he qualified down in P12, so he was quite a bit slower than me in qualifying. However, he has discovered some real pace here. I've not been able to keep up with him. He's already managed to open up a 3.5 second advantage. So right now, my top 10 hopes aren't looking very good at all. But things can change, and they do. As I exit T1, look, right in the middle of the track, there is a car driving the wrong way. Well, I thought I'd seen it all in the Clio Cup this week, but that was a new one even for me. The driver in question was Matthew Van Alen. He's trying to make a move up the inside into T1 to take P7, but he just runs really wide on exit, loses control on the grass, slides across the track once, and then slides across the track a second time. I'm just coming into shot now, and that is me gifted a position back into the top 10. So I thought that 10th position was going to be as good as it could possibly get for me. We're rejoining the live action with just a couple of minutes to go. Zantimirov has continued his impressive charge through the field. He's moved up into 7th position at the expense of Kevin Kaufman and Dan Holsett. Now, I'm running quicker than both Kaufman and Holsett, but not quick enough to close in this gap over the final 2 minutes. I'm still 2 seconds behind, so my only real hope is that these two start fighting closely together and slow each other down. I've switched the TV cam on so we can keep an eye on that battle. You can just see me at the back of the shot, but we're concentrating on Dan Holsett in 9th position. He's just 0.4 of a second behind Kaufman in 8th, and he is starting to put some real pressure on now. And as they enter the Craner curves, it does look like Holsett is sizing up a move. He's going to sling it up the inside. Now, we saw Zantimirov do this to Duncan earlier in the race. Holsett hasn't quite got it done, but he switches back and tucks it up the inside of the old hairpin. They're side by side on exit. This is a cracking battle for P8. I think Holsett's got the pace to get the job done around the outside here. He is going to have 8th position before they arrive at McLean's. He has done into McLean's now. He's wide on exit though. This might be an opportunity for Kaufman to hit back. They're side by side once again. And would you believe it? Kaufman has snatched 8th position back. All that work from Holsett undone with one slight mistake exiting McLean's. Well, this is sensational battling, but what does it mean for me? It's half the deficit. That's what it means. I'm less than a second behind these two now. And look at Holsett. He's trying to move up the inside into the final chicane. Oh, Kaufman not letting him have it. He slams the door shut. There might have been a bit of contact too, and as a result, I am right on the tail of Holsett now. We're going to start the final lap of this race, and I am in a three-way battle for 8th position. Well, I thought for a long, long time that 10th was going to be as good as it could possibly get for me, but can I improve now? We don't need the TV cam on anymore because I am close enough to see this battle in person. Now, will Holsett try the same move through the Craner curves as he did on the last lap? He's 0.3 of a second behind. I don't think he's close enough to try it this time around. I suspect he'll be looking for a wider entry into the old hairpin to try and get on the gas a little bit earlier and put pressure on Kaufman that way. He is a little bit closer, but he's still not close enough to make a move. Well, time is ticking now. We're halfway through this final lap. Look at Kaufman going ultra defensive into McLean's. He didn't want to give Holsett any opportunity whatsoever to make a move up the inside, but now it's me who's got the opportunity. I'm forcing Holsett to defend. And if I can just get a tighter exit out of Coppice, I may be able to tuck it up the inside of Holsett now. And I have done with side by side. I could snatch 9th position at the very last corner. It is a drag race to the chicane now. I've got my nose in front and I've got the inside line, so as long as I hold it steady, I'm going to get this position, and I have done. I'm up into 9th with a last gasp move. That is as late as it comes. What a finish to this race. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Let's take another look at the final stages of this race. I forced Holsett to defend into Coppice. That opened up a gap on the inside. I dived into it, exiting the corner, and then I made the pass into the chicane. Actually, Holsett locked up his brakes there, so as soon as he did that, he was done. Well, I'm so glad I came back to give this series another try, because that was the most exciting race I've had in quite a while. At the start of the week, it was brutal. It was a rating destroyer, a rating killer. I think I lost nearly 150 ELO. And while I may not have clawed any of it back here, I have had an absolutely fantastic race. My fastest lap out there was a 1:20.6, so a little bit quicker than Kaufman actually, but slower than the rest of the top 7. So I think I finished just about where I deserve to finish. Once again, thank you ever so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed racing in it. And if you're new to the channel and want to know a bit more about what goes into making one of my race videos, check out my special behind the scenes look on screen now. See you again for the next one. Cheers.